Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
Always start the day with a smile.
And a scotch. All right. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 526, the Anime-ification of JRPGs. Okay, so before we start, we got to do some housekeeping. And this is not just for the title of this video, but in general. Anytime you have a nebulous term, you have to define it properly, and you have to be very clear that you're only using a certain definition. And if you're using multiple definitions, then the video becomes longer or should become longer, or else you're going to lose us all. So that's anime. That's a big, huge, gigantic term already. He's trying to compare that to another huge, nebulous, gigantic term called RPGs, and then JRPGs. So we have these two mountains of nebulous who knows, and he's trying to come together. I haven't watched this video. I'm going to assume he doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay? If it was one nebulous term and he was a philosopher guy and he was, had some theories, then I would be like, okay, this could make some sense. But it's not. So already I think he's going to fail, and that's expected to me, at least. The second thing I want to talk about is, before we start, is the concept of taking ification. Like you have one thing becoming another thing, or being imposed or superimposed or juxtaposed, whatever you want, onto another thing. Usually that's a reductionist argument. So you have these ideas that's, again, a very big nebulous concept, and you're reducing it to something that people understand, so like a stereotype or an archetype, usually a stereotype. And with anime, it's like, oh, girls with cute pink hair and big eyes and fluffy animals that fly through the air, all kinds of silly things. And that is, it's a reductionist. You're missing the forest for the trees. You're not understanding what the category is. And this is what this is. Anime has been so big for so long throughout history. The same with role-playing games. And if you don't narrow those down, you're going to have you're going to be arguing with yourself, essentially. And I've seen this before. We've seen it before with other creators. And they talked about gaming. They talked about anime. Neuralities does this to some extent because she's so nebulous with her interests. I don't even know what they are exactly. And she tends to ramble.
No, you're just repressing it.
She's
you know what her interests are.
I think so. I'm not entirely clear, and I don't care to find out, so that's all right. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. From the title alone, this is going to be weird, but
the title makes no sense to me at all. Because is this this will either be an explanation video or critiquing that JRPGs are anime-ificated, and that makes no sense.
Well, you said to me prior,
it's Japanese role-playing game.
You said to me prior, your opinion of anime isn't just anime or animation from Japan. There's a certain style, there's a certain feel based off the era it came from. So
yes, but that was always a part of Japanese role-playing games.
I would say the influence goes both ways, and anime.
Just like it's just that just like the style in anime, we can watch an anime and roughly tell from which decade it is. The same goes for the art in JRPGs.
Yeah, so we take the genre,
the manuals
and subgenre,
the graphics on screen
of anime and manga, and we look at what gaming does. And as we said before, isekai is a very popular subgenre of anime manga, and it came from gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Not originally, but it's been overpopulated as a result of gaming. And there's going to be one Japanese mangaka out there who has dreamt of making their own video game, doesn't have the skills or resources to do so, so they make a story based off that, and they turn it into an isekai, where you have a guy teleporting into another world with game mechanics. And that is very, very common. I remember back when I was in video game school, even before video game school, I remember people in English who wanted to write video games. And they were just talking freely in public at the cafeteria or the commons in university. And it was everywhere. So that was like, the 90s. So it's not uncommon to have people wanting to make stories in their head about whatever, for whatever format. And especially in Japan, where there's so much media, so much influential stuff, they're all working off each other. Manga's its own world, anime's its own world. Mostly they're connected. And then you have RPGs or video games, which I would say are mostly disconnected from everything else, but it borrows and steals from everything, not just printed and visual media. So it's a highly evolving, highly influential series of art forms, and video games are on the top because they're so evolved and they're constantly changing. Whereas with manga and anime, pretty much the same stuff for the past 30, 40 years, aside from animation techniques and technology like 3D stuff, 3D effects, which we also see in movies. So everyone is copying and stealing and influenced by each other, whether it's the East or the West or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm not really following here, because the games are just, if you will, interactive stories with game challenges to overcome in between. And the storytelling in them is the same as in manga.
I would say the visual novels are taking concepts, or they are original concepts that can be translated to other formats. And
that's maybe the storytelling style, that you also include an avatar of the speaking character to the speech bubble, instead of just having the text on screen with the name of the character. But I think my guess is that this is just about the visual style of how the characters are drawn, they are.
I hope so.
And that simply doesn't make sense, because we can go back to the prominent example is Final Fantasy VII. JRPG was anime style, and the previous Final Fantasies as well. Games of similar fashion, whether you want to classify them as JRPGs or more as action adventures. That's splitting hairs in that vein.
Right.
Whether you go to Secret of Mana, even the Zelda games, you look at the artwork, that is manga anime.
Even with Dragon Quest, the first, this is earlier than Final Fantasy.
That is outright Toriyama style.
Yes, and you could say that influenced how Dragon Quest evolved, but it's really hard to tell with the first NES 8-bit game of Dragon Warrior Dragon Quest. It's like, okay, there is a style, but because the resolution's so low, it's hard to pick that apart unless you knew who Toriyama was in like the 80s.
Yeah, but those games also tended to have manuals that had character artwork in them, and you can tell then from there. And that is simply the general drawing style or variations of that was on vogue in Japan. And so I that's why I don't see this argument making any sense. Kyoga's Hideout in the chat is mentioning that some people complain about the anime art style of Xenoblade Definitive Edition on Switch, which is the high-resolution version of Xenoblade 1 that came out on the Wii, not realizing that it's the style the devs always had in mind, but it wasn't feasible on the Wii original. I still haven't unpacked mine, still, but I expect that to be just a high-resolution version of the original, and you had anime art style there. I mean, Melia's eyes were just as big as they would be in any anime, and you have this distinct Japanese super sci-fi mecha style.
Okay.
In that,
so you think?
So what is the problem? I don't see the difference in this 10-year-old game.
So you think that this guy's making the argument that the manga anime style of artwork, like the big eyes, the streamlined robots, that sort of concept, is being turned into gaming?
I don't know. I think Kyoga is on the right track here. That lots of people just have never noticed that it's always been manga and anime in JRPGs. Because what
Is it really?
what else
Like,
would you expect?
I remember like Final Fantasy VI concept arts look very European inspired instead. Like you can't really see the big blue eyes and the Japanese aesthetics.
Oh yeah, they do go somewhat closer to that. It also depends on which artwork of Secret of Mana you're looking at. There is the more plain watercolored one, and
there's
then
also
there's
like
the
Castlevania
highly
art,
intricate
like
one.
the Symphony of the Night. I would say it's like a bit
Yeah,
further
but,
away from manga and anime.
You may slap me for that, but that also reminds me a lot of Berserk, which is much closer to drawing much more realistically in many fashions.
Yeah.
Well, there's the other argument we can make.
But that's still you can still see the Japanese influence in
You
it,
see the
Japanese style in it.
In that regard to influence, you could actually see the artist from a game work within a manga or an anime or vice versa. So I remember the best example I could think of is Chrono Cross. The Yuki, what's his name? Nobuyuki or whatever. He was the artist for, if you look at the character art, like the drawn art, not the 3D art, the drawn art, for Chrono Cross, and then you look at the movie version of Escaflowne or Vision of Escaflowne, and the art styles is the same. Like the eyes, there's something about the eyes that look exactly the same. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is Chrono Cross. And then I looked at the back of the box, and it was character designs by Nobuyuki or whatever his name was. So that happens, as we said with Akira Toriyama. He's so well known that he can do anything and apply his artwork to a video game, or vice versa. If he came like with Yoshitaka Amano, he was influenced obviously by gaming, and now he's doing comic books as well. So, and that's Western, or I guess you could call Sandman. He did a one-off with, I don't know how that worked with Neil Gaiman, but he managed to get a Neil Gaiman contract and made a Sandman comic, which was awesome. So Yoshitaka Amano is just an amazing artist, and then he just did all this other stuff for Square and other people. So if you're famous and well known and people respect you, you're going to get work, and it doesn't matter what format and what job. So that's how artists are. They get whatever they can. So anyway, I think he's going to make the argument that the stories or tropes or patterns in anime are going to be found more so in gaming, like modern stuff. So like shonen manga, shonen anime.
Yeah, but he's starting from Xenogears to Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
What?
That is the current start and end point of this whole Xenoverse.
How do you
thing?
Okay, first off, Xenogears is really weird and complex.
And old.
And 1998 or so, I can't remember when it came out. Was it later? Maybe 2001? I can't recall. To go from there to Xenoblade is like, what?
I wouldn't say that it got more anime. No.
Well,
just a bit of a different art style.
Yeah,
this was always anime. And this convoluted story mess crap.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what we know the Japanese for, and that's what we love and hate them for.
So they're skipping Xenosaga, I guess, in between that crap.
How dare they? How dare?
Anyway, I don't know what to expect exactly, because this is such a big pile of weird title. So let's get started. It's only 16 and a half minutes. We might quit before then if it drives us nuts. This dude is called Macca. This came out in May 31st this year. Has 13,000 views, and this dude has a 16,000 sub YouTube channel. So good for him. We'll see. I have a really strong feeling that he's not going to be up to par with our geekdom.
Maybe he'll super positively surprise us. That possibility always exists.
Unless they came directly from the auxiliary channel on the Smudcast Discord, I highly doubt it. So, sadly. Anyway.
It's like playing the lottery.
Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah, right. Okay, here we go.
There is a chance.
Spoilers for Xenogears and Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Oh, you weren't kidding, Whisp. Look at that. Oh, shit. This is going to be right up your alley then. Oh, crap.
I told you. Oh, you didn't see the thumbnail? start frame thing?
That's
That's why I was talking about it.
I saw the thumbnail. I didn't know it was. This isn't the thumbnail.
This is what popped up for me in the watch together.
Oh, all right. I had a blank screen to watch. Anyway,
So I was not crystal balling. I just was replying to what was on the screen.
I know you haven't talked about
No magic powers.
Yeah, you haven't talked about Xenoblade for months. I was like, oh my god, Whisp is going to drive us nuts with this.
Isn't Crazy Philosopher like the Xenoblade expert on the
Yes.
server anyway?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I would say he's even more of an expert.
Well, he's an expert on many things that he doesn't talk about. So
Yeah. I still haven't 100%ed it because there are some frustrating bits.
yeah. All right. Anyway, let's
I
keep going.
have to replay it again anyway.
Oh my god, bringing up Xenogears. Oh my god, my brain's gonna hurt.
It could be worse, man. Like, come on, it's not Evangelion.
It's basically the RPG version.
Yeah. I
But there is an Evangelion RPG,
Look.
and it's bad.
Oh,
But
don't say that.
Smut is not entirely wrong on that assessment. I just wish that Nintendo somehow gets it on the Switch, updated as they do, and gets Monolith to add that missing content they weren't able to put in,
That'll never happen.
which is an
Wait,
entire third of the game.
No.
Is Xenoblade like a first buy tile from Nintendo?
No,
Oh, okay,
Xenogears.
All right.
Then you got three
They
shitty.
had 2 CDs. They wanted to make. They had enough content to write for a third one, but had to cut that out due to budget reasons.
Well, let's not talk about Xenosaga at all because that's just not worth that time. So.
Isn't it technically all in the same universe somehow?
Yeah, I know.
Magically.
It is. It's just stupid.
Also Jesus.
I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how those games came about. I was just like, who greenlit any of this shit? Anyway.
Come on. Shin Megami Tensei
What
is
is
much
anime?
better on that.
Seriously, what the heck is anime?
right.
It seems like this term means a million different things to different.
Animation that is commissioned by Japanese and is made by Japanese people.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
From
The
outside,
Japanese do call all animations anime, but we Westerners and everyone else who doesn't live in Japan just call anime or manga something that comes from Japan. You
Yeah,
can
the-
call
the-
something that's like Japanese inspired animation, like the whatever shit Netflix is doing, but they are not anime.
Yeah, we use this outside of Japan. We use this term specifically to refer to Japanese creations and Japanese styles.
That's it.
Usually to the standards of the Japanese.
Yeah, I think that's all as deep as you need to get, unless you are talking about the influence of a specific title on a specific game. That's as good as this guy should get. He's going to be so broad, I bet, that we're going to be lost halfway through. We'll be like, what is he talking about anymore?
Yeah, I'd call things like Avatar: The Last Airbender and this whatever this shit is that Adi Shankar does, maybe anime-esque.
Anime inspired, for sure.
Yeah, but it's I mean, Avatar at least had good writing. The Adi Shankar stuff is just garbage.
Teen Titans, I think like that had like Japanese people working on it, but it's still just a cartoon because it was pretty much commissioned by the West.
Yeah,
Or
the
Batman
way
the
it's
animated
animated-
series that is animated by Japanese.
the way it is animated, the style, the frame rate nonsense, the focus on things. It's like it's just too cheap.
Well,
The Adi Shankar cartoons, they are just dazzling you with expensive backgrounds.
Warner-
But the animation you see in front is absolute garbage.
the Warner Brothers company did use a variety of Asian, I wouldn't say studios, but at least Asian talent throughout the years. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did actually contact Japan to do some of their job for them. But who knows? I'm not an expert on this thing. All right, let's go.
People. Ask someone to define anime and you'll hear so many contradicting definitions. To some, it's just animation made in Japan. To others, it's a medium. Some people think anime is simply just all animation regardless of its origin. And these some people include Japan. Did you know the original Animaniacs was mostly animated by Asian animation studios, including the Japanese studio TMS Entertainment, creators of, Detective Conan, freaking Lupin the Third, Sonic X. Man, they even did the Devi Chill anime. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't exactly call Animaniacs anime. But that's just anime as a noun.
Okay, no, he's jumping all over the place right now, and he's just giving examples. What he has to do is nail it
really
down.
Annoying.
Yeah, he has to nail it down as style, location, where it comes from, or origin, or medium, or media.
I used to know a guy who had the exact same argument, but the Japanese prefer like all animation as anime. And okay, but we on the West have like consciously decided that Japanese animation is called anime.
Yeah.
We make more distinctions. The Japanese make less distinctions on this subject.
It's like comparing the whiskey from Scotland to the whiskey in Canada. There's no comparison.
We use the metric system, but the US is still using the imperial. Why is that? Like, because they decided to have that.
Yeah.
They actually managed to land on the moon as well.
I would argue the people in Scotland have a higher standard and higher, stricter reasons for making the whiskey, whereas the Canadians have a lower standard. So when you're talking to a Japanese fellow about art and animation, they just colloquially call it this thing that we take for granted because it's everywhere. And then they look across the ocean and go, "What the hell is He-Man? What is that? Those frames of animation. That's nothing. Where are all these jumps? What happened?" So I think I wouldn't say they're spoiled, but they obviously have a heck of a lot more content.
Why are they only ever walking sideways?
Yeah,
in this standard animation frame, and everybody's walking behind each other.
So funny. It's comparing the two in the 80s, like the 80s with He-Man and like Astro Boy. Astro Boy was in the 60s and 70s, I think.
He-Man is my favorite anime. Like Skeletor is such a tsundere.
Oh God. All right.
No, but I think your whiskey example is pretty good because it's like saying, "Oh yeah, it's all whiskey, Scotch, bourbon. That's all whiskey," but not really at the same time.
Yeah, they have the highest standards.
Depends on on what resolution are you looking at it with.
Yeah.
And the Japanese
what is that
have a lower
Schrödinger's
resolution.
alcohol?
Well, no, it's like if you are the country of origin that made the thing, like Italians and pizza or whatever, and they look at pizza across the world, they go, "That's not pizza. What the hell is that? That's bread and soggy cheese or whatever." Like they have so high quality standards for their pizza, and each region of Italy has their own version of it, that they know what they're talking about. So when you come to another country, let's say Canada, and they have this bastardized version of that, or pizza or Pizza Hut, and they got the pan style. Italians look at that, look how greasy that is. Like, you're doing all these extra steps to make a product that is no longer pizza.
Yeah, or when most European countries look at the United States and say, "That's not bread, that is some sad excuse for a cake."
Oh God, yeah. Bread is a whole other ball game, yeah. Jeez.
It's also bread, but it's not, no.
It comes from wheat, technically.
No. Yeah, and that's where it ends.
Yeah. The stories of my dad coming to Canada, like the bread he thought was cake. That's what they were eating. He thought it was like the sweetest bread. He said, "This is dessert." I was like, "No, this is normal bread." Like, wow.
No, there's milk buns or milk rolls. That is that's a snack. That's a dessert snack.
That's why when the Europeans
they make toast of that.
When the Europeans look at the Chinese, the Southern Chinese cuisine, or even the Japanese cuisine, they have their rice buns or whatever, and they eat it. They're like, "What is this? Like, there's no flavor. There's no texture. It's just a ball of air with whatever hotness that came out of the oven. That's it." And it's such a strange thing to have. Was it mochi or other sorts of desserts that are designed for, sweetness, what have you, and they're so subtle. And that's the interesting thing about the Japanese palate, or even the Asian palate in some cases. The flavors there are so bizarre to the rest of the world, like grass and turnip, that you wouldn't expect that to have in breads and cereals and even ice creams. So it's not just about region, it's about the palate and the sensibility and the tastes of those people as well, why they developed their foods and entertainment along those lines.
Oh yeah.
But we're getting off topic, so let's get back to
No, I think this is in general it's a good thing. We make a lot of distinctions between in all of these sorts of categories. Beer is another standard example.
Oh yeah.
Because well, if you order a beer here, you can't just order beer. You have to specify what kind of beer. Hefeweizen, Pils, dark, flavored, all of this sort of shit. These are completely different types of beer. And maybe that is also why we make bigger distinctions in what animation we call what. Because to Japanese animation, anime as we know it, as we see it, as we recognize it, there are distinct elements to it that make us immediately recognize it as originally Japanese anime or some rip-off on Netflix.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of describing this fellow. I think he does not have the concept of proprietary knowledge from country of origin. As like imagine a Japanese fellow was making the same video. He would go into detail. He would show examples from the past of gaming that was influenced by a manga or vice versa. Like he'd go into all this historical stuff. He's like, "What is it? I don't know. What do you think?" And you're like, "Dude."
Yeah, then don't make a video if you don't know for yourself. And to his argument that Animaniacs was animated in Japan, they sent them the instructions on how to make it so that it looks like the United States style of animation. If you look what I mentioned this a couple times, and so did Crazy Philosopher, there were several animes commissioned in the 80s and I think 90s still to a degree from European countries of Japan that we then had as children cartoons. We thought it's just cartoons. We have our own word for that, which is Zeichentrick, which means drawing trick or trick drawing. And we, as children, we were never aware that this was actually made in Japan because nobody reads the credits, to be honest. But as we grew older eventually and got into anime, we noticed, oh wait, lots of the childhood cartoons that we watched here were actually in anime style, made in Japan. As the Switzerland one for Heidi was actually made by Studio Ghibli. So his argument is weird. I don't know.
Here is Nicola Khan.
It's style. Hello.
I wanted to
style is just as important.
I wanted to bring someone in from the Aux channel because usually you guys join for Anime Day. We didn't have it yesterday, so I was wondering why not. But here we are. He's getting his mic ready, so we'll hold off on his commentary. But let's continue with the video. I think we've exhausted the origin argument of knowledge that coming from the source, that they'd have a better understanding. It's kind of like your buddy from Italy would know a heck of a lot more about Italian culture than someone from growing up in California. It's just obvious. So,
and different styles, what actual pizzas are.
Yeah, exactly.
What about anime as an adjective, a descriptor?
Okay.
Usually when people ask the question of what is anime, they're talking about it more as a medium. But a lot of people also tend to use
Have you ever used anime as an adjective?
No,
never.
This is like these people don't know how grammar works, and they in recent years, these video essayists, they must have gotten it from the media science classes in university, which is not a science, by the way. That they start using any word as a verb, and that somehow means something. It's the most pseudo-intellectual bullshit you can imagine.
I could argue
that we just had. Yeah,
I could argue styles of anime can be a verb, like cell shading is a technique to make the 3D.
Yeah, but
aspect.
then you say cell shaded,
right?
Or you are cell shading it,
right?
But that is where the noun and the verb look the same.
Adjective, add noun, adverb.
Those things can happen.
Yeah.
No, he just had Shantai on the screen, Way Forward is, as far as I remember, a Western studio. But interestingly enough, the style they use is an anime style that looks indistinguishable from Japanese. And that, I think, is an achievement. It doesn't come off like a rip-off style. I'm not sure if he noticed that.
Well, either he's just asking questions to get our brains ready for something, or he's actually lost. I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Yeah. When he's using nouns as verbs, I think he's already off the deep end.
What I'm thinking is that he's confusing like anime with the style and the kind of like stories that you see in an anime, like the general like storylines. Like you have a fetch quest and such. It's like those general like tropes that you see in anime.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was going to make the connection between like shonen anime in high school settings with the boy has to go help the girl carry the papers and all that crap. And you might see that in like a Persona game or something where the setting's the same, maybe.
Yeah, because I very quick example that I think I once pointed out is like the Mandalorian, like the first season. Like a lot of people have like noticed that like, what the fuck is this? Is this an RPG? Like, am I playing like KOTOR because like he needs to like get this object, like get the kid from point A to point B, and then he needs to like accomplish this side quest so he can move on and repair the ship. And after that, he needs to travel to this location and then like do this thing. Like, come on!
Oh no!
Like, this is not a story. It's just we have like points and we need to connect the dots. Like, what am I watching?
Oh jeez, I always made the joke that Babylon 5 was D&D in space, but not the gaming elements. Not the like because it had like rangers and knights and magical people, you know,
and priests.
And it was like, oh my god, there's all these cool characters, but it's not like literally Marcus has a bow. No, he has a retractable staff, but it was like, okay, it's kind of close, but he's not like rolling 20 to strike a Minbari in the face with his staff. It's nothing stupid like that.
Yes, it's mainly the actual role-playing. How an actual role-playing session should go, not just dungeon crawling all the time.
With the archetypes and the characters and some of the plots. It's like, oh, this is like D&D. It's really cool. So I like that. I like characterizing it that way because people didn't understand what's so great about it. And I was like, well, do you like gaming? I was like, yeah, well, this is D&D in space.
I've never heard that description, but it's amazing.
Right.
I love it.
Anime to describe things, treating it more like a genre. So what exactly makes something anime? To my friend Owen and Will, something can be anime if the art style fits within the stereotypical art style.
Oh,
being
stereotypes.
Realistic human proportions, with large eyes, bright colors.
He said stereotypes, not archetypes. So I don't know if that's a negative connotation or he has no idea what word he's using. He's using it because that's what popped into his head.
Well, he doesn't know what nouns and verbs are.
He's a native speaker. Oh well.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. He's not wrong. He's just I just like his use of language. I find it entertaining.
He's just missing the mark.
It's like a 13-year-old argument compared to a university level. Like we're like already towering above him with our grammar knowledge. Like, well, you wouldn't use it that way, sir. You wouldn't use that word at all, actually.
How are we towering above him? This is elementary school shit.
Okay, fair. We'll stop.
That just means he slept through class.
Oh, all right. Either way, he's not wrong. It's just a very weak, silly, simple argument.
Minimal mouth movement, exaggerated expressions, etc. But while I'm not trying to say they're wrong, what about anime that don't fit within this style? What about
Panty and stocking with garter belt was a fever dream. That they were all big fans of Invader Zim, and Jonathan Vasquez may or may not have been involved at a party, or maybe not. I'm not entirely sure on the memory anymore. They were throwing several things together and thought, hey, let's make a show out of that. And I did. And that is why this show is a complete amalgamation of several styles. When the monster of the week finally explodes, it's not drawn. They have put up an actual paper mesh model, Godzilla style, and then blow it up.
See, he can't actually call an amalgamation between styles because he doesn't know what anime is yet. He's like, is it this? Is it a style? Is it a format? Is it a thing from Japan? Like, he doesn't know what it is. But when you actually look at one of these shows that are made in the West or they're influenced by the East, it's like, yeah, it takes a little bit of this, it takes a little bit of that, and does its own thing.
Ah!
What the hell?
Stop. What?
What happened?
Someone clicked things.
Not me. Mark? What happened?
I think I just alt-tabbed and it clicked on it. I apologize.
All right, let's try this again. Whoa!
Ah. Just one. Only one on the
Spoilers for
controls,
Xenogears.
please. Not the entire thing.
Anime. Ask someone to define anime, and you'll hear so
All right,
Mark, take control.
let me fast forward for you.
Okay.
There we go.
that being semi-realistic human proportions, with large eyes, bright colors, minimal mouth movement, exaggerated expressions, etc. But while I'm not trying to say they're wrong,
Okay.
what about anime that don't fit within this style? What about Penny and Stocking, Flowers of Evil, Ping Pong the Animation, Kaiba, Thunderbolt Fantasy?
Those still look distinct anime. What is your problem? If you bring up Shinchan in this list, I'll give you a quarter point because that falls outside the standard high quality norm that we're used to. It's another squiggly style that is also sometimes used.
Yeah, even with 3D art
in manga anime.
3D
They
art.
have these very childish drawing styles.
We go back to when Squaresoft started doing 3D gaming on the PS, I think, with like Parasite Eve, and they used 3D models and Final Fantasy VII, etc. That it's influenced by anime because that's the character drawings they did. And they took that, put it into 3D, had their 800 plus poly model, and tried to make everything look normal from the artwork. So, yeah, it's still anime inspired.
You'll have to tell me why these examples he's bringing up right now do not fit into anime, because that seems to be the claim he's making.
Right.
So I look at this frame and I say, yeah, that's a Japanese creation.
Looks pretty
Definitely.
Japanese, yeah.
We have already established that anything that comes out of Japan is anime. Or anime-esque. Japanese.
The style is there full force.
Yeah, he
And
should have.
another thing that we often see in anime is, or at least that we saw definitely until the 90s and early 2000s, is very, very detailed backgrounds, skies, and often even animation in those.
Yeah, he should have done a dictionary.com definition, like point 1, a style of drawing or animating characters or whatever. Part 2, a historical representation of animation from the East, blah, blah, blah. Like, he should have done that and said, these are the definitions, this is the one I'm using, let's go with that. And then off he goes. Because right now he's just like, it could be this, it could be that, I'm not sure. And we're like, dude, just give me an answer and then go from there. Then we could have a discussion, or then we could have a reasonable understanding of what the hell you're talking about, as opposed to just giving me lists.
I was still just guessing in the first 2 minutes of the
Yeah.
video. This is not going off in a
there's
good way.
no definitions yet, yeah.
Is it about influence? If something is influenced by anime, then does that make it anime? If so,
What?
No.
how much influence is
No.
needed exactly?
If I'm influenced by a bullet, does that make me a gun?
No, that makes you American.
It makes me. If I get shot in the head, does that make me an AK-47?
Look, you can try to imitate things or influenced by them. That doesn't mean that you will fully do the thing. If you actually do the thing, then you are imitating it so well that it is indistinguishable from the original. Here we see a frame from the final season from Castlevania. I think it was the final season.
This is not
With-
Castlevania.
Yeah, it
Is
was.
this
This is
Castlevania?
Castlevania. Yes,
no
the-
wonder.
the-
no wonder
the
you have been
broad-shouldered-
shitting on it so much.
The broad-shouldered
I
vampire
would be
chick.
angry at this too.
The broad-shouldered feminist lesbian vampire chick of the made-up feminist vampire coven
He's also
has
totally
a-
not guts.
has a daylight armor so that she can go outside and kill the soldiers that are attacking the vampire camp that is set up and resting at day and just made up of tents. And if a bunch of like 5 peasants comes along and rips little tears into the tents with pitchforks and shit, then all the vampires die. That's the vampire camp is ambushed. The army is almost destroyed by a bunch of peasants that just rip the tents down of the vampire army. It's like, I have never seen such ridiculous nonsense.
Yeah,
Anime comes up with pretty over-the-top nonsense that is enjoyable. This is insulting to anyone who has brain cells left.
Yeah, we literally see like just a few arrows nearly destroys their entire army because it tears open some of the tents and vaporizes them.
Yeah, but it's also always completely random how many people die, how many people are left. This is just garbage. It's magical. How many do we need? How much more units do we need to for the cool scene to look?
I would say
there's no consistency in this show.
This character's more
it
influenced
is garbage on every level.
By Punished Snake. I feel a very strong connection to MGS5 here.
And yes, I agree with
Yes.
Chad that they wanted to imitate Guts a little bit here as well.
Yeah, that's why I said she's totally not Guts.
All right, let's keep going.
I mean, even the armor looks like what's it called again? Can't think of it.
The Berserker armor?
Yeah, the Berserker armor. It looks a lot like it. Like the open mouth, with the thing in the face, everything. It's just a bird instead of a wolf.
Okay.
I love that you immediately denied that this could be Castlevania.
Don't you remember Snake eating muffins?
Adi Shankar is simply a hack. He didn't care about Castlevania anyway. He admitted that. And now he's eyeing... yes, is it actually Berserk?
Berserk and Devil May Cry.
Oh god, so he will turn that into shit as well with his shitty, low-budget animation style where he's just probably money laundering anyway.
All right.
That may be so, but
And
the real
turning it into
Berserk is
feminist
continuing,
crap.
so...
Okay.
That's
Devil
all
May
we
Cry
care
already
about.
had a fantastic anime. It doesn't need another one.
Okay. Well, let's continue.
Castlevania draws heavily from anime like Berserk and Vampire Hunter D. Netflix even claims it's an anime in its marketing.
Oh, yeah,
despite
it does
being
look like
principally
that.
animated
Okay.
by
Vampire Hunter D?
Vampire Hunter D was... that I'm pretty sure that was an anime.
The first or the second one?
The one from the 80s, I believe.
There was a second one?
There was a second
There was a
video.
second
Is it
one.
the
I think
remake
it
or
was a
sequel?
remake.
I mean, I would say it mainly kind of is reminiscent of Vampire Hunter D because
Vampires.
the art from the old Castlevania games, I think, was probably inspired a bit by. I'm trying to remember the artist's name, but I can't. He does the Final Fantasy artwork, and he did the art for Vampire Hunter
Well,
D.
it's
His name.
Kojima. Her name is Ayami Kojima. That's the gothic.
Yeah, she's the one who did the Castlevania art.
Yeah, and we all know Yoshitaka Amano did Vampire Hunter D. So their
Mono, that's what I'm
styles,
thinking of.
yeah, those two styles are very, I guess, ethereal and wispy and magical.
They've got that long, slightly curled hair and beautiful, feminine-looking dudes and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
That's common for vampires for most of modern media. It's rather rare nowadays that we have the actual monster vampires or they're the muscly, sparkly guys.
Yeah,
Which are also somewhat feminine still, but nah.
In regards to the influence of Vampire Hunter D, though, to the Castlevania Netflix series, I don't know, because the first one was kind of mediocre. The second one, I think it was called Bloodlust. That was a really good film. So
I loved the original Vampire Hunter D. It was very... It didn't go much into depth of the story. It just had this broad thing going on that you kind of figured out on the way. You had these different factions, and you just went from location to location where there was an event.
They did make a
and,
game
and
off
you had
it.
to puzzle it. You had to puzzle it together.
It was like a Resident Evil style survival horror action-ish
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I think that was based on the movie. I would guess.
It felt more
It used
like
a lot of it used a lot of footage from that, or the other way around. I don't know.
I don't know which influenced which. I'm sure they looked at the.
I think
But
I think
the common thing
was Castlevania.
the common thing of both is simply you have very intricate castle, and you have very high tech, and or if not magic, and that's it. And the castle has a special function. Bam.
Yeah.
I mean, Hero Card is also basically D.
Yeah, the characters are the same or very similar. The plots are similar. Outside of D, just hunting vampires for the sake of it, and the animation is kind of close, but not really. Of course, they're going to be.
The series is just. I would even say ripping off from Castlevania, because it doesn't do much with the actual characters from Castlevania. It instead invents its own and gives them plots and spotlight, and just drops other side characters or boss monsters from the series as just doodads in the background. And it's like name dropping, but in a more physical sense. I don't know.
Texas-based
Sweet.
Powerhouse Animation Studio. Dexters
not a
Lab has an
powerhouse.
episode heavily
It's pretentious.
influenced by mecha anime and Sentai. Does that mean that one episode is anime while the rest of the show
No.
isn't?
That is called a homage. Do you know what a homage is?
Yeah, this is getting.
Can you already
silly.
move on from this?
Yeah, this is pretty silly.
Yes.
I get instances where a Japanese series is influenced
Oh, that's
more
an
by
anime.
Western works than Japanese ones. Ghost in the Shell draws heavily from Blade Runner on both.
Blade Runner was heavily.
Blade Runner is not a
by
Western
anime.
show, you dunce. It is first and foremost a little story by Philip K. Dick. Cyberpunk is more than Blade Runner.
Oh, like
And again-
most of Blade Runner was like made up by them. Like the original story is extremely short.
Yes.
And again, Cyberpunk is heavily inspired by Japanese culture anyway.
Yeah, I'd say.
So it's a
I'd
circle
even say
jerk.
Ghost in the Shell has fleshed out Cyberpunk more than Blade Runner did.
So he's confusing the concepts of genre and style and media. He's just lost. He's like, is this anime? Is like, it's like, where's that theme or the meme of the guy? Is this X?
The guy looks at the
And look-
butterfly.
Yeah.
Look at the
Is this a
manga.
bird?
The manga came a little bit earlier, and this is the time when anime, these types of anime movies, were made very close to the manga in style. And you read other science fiction manga of the time, it has this very, very similar, distinct style of how they were drawing backgrounds and technology and everything. From Ghost in the Shell to Iria to
Yeah, but he could keep going. Like he could do this show from this era. Is this anime? It's like, yes. Is this yes? What's your point? What are you getting at, sir? We know shows came out during the decades where technology and technique were different. What's your point? Like it's getting silly now. If we go to the 90s, we could say, yes, this is how it was influenced in the West from Ghost in the Shell to Akira to Sailor Moon, and then upward trend of popularity and knowledge. That's it. Okay. Is that your base? If it is,
Just kind of
go with that.
seems like this guy got told, "Hey, define your terms," and he took it way too far.
Mhm. I would even go so far as to say that Tartakovsky is a complete own style and category of animation.
All right. Okay. Well, I think this other video is going to keep going. Is this anime? Is that anime? I don't know.
Yeah, he'll be done by the minute.
Okay.
Hopefully,
both an aesthetic and writing level. Cowboy Bebop is often cited as one of the most American animes ever.
What?
Kenny and
Ooh.
Stocking was created because
Who
the
says
guys at
that?
Gainax wanted
I think that I think that might be because of that still very leftover rumor that Cowboy Bebop wasn't very popular in Japan, but it just ran
Yes.
a bad time slot.
I looked into it. Yeah, it isn't as popular as in the West, but it is still popular. Like if people would like look at it, they would be like, yeah, it was running at the time, and like I recognize the voice actors.
The original run in Japan was in a really bad time slot. It had a lot of censorship. They didn't get a lot of episodes. So, like, of course, it's going to affect how popular it was.
Yeah.
All right, so he hasn't talked about genre yet, so...
But yeah, Cowboy Bebop was inspired by a lot of Western movies, like Pulp Fiction. Probably be the biggest one, I think.
To give their own take on shows like Drawn Together. Yet despite this, the show still feels distinctly Japanese, particularly with how it handles its craft.
Anti-stalking is not inspired by Drawn Together. It's an adult version of the Powerpuff Girls.
Mm-hmm. Powerpuff Girls meets Invader Zim meets Godzilla.
Okay.
Where is he getting his source? Like, my source is that I made it the fuck up.
Is this an anime channel? Like, what is he doing? Let me just check this out.
No. This is like Megami Tensei dedicated channel.
Okay.
Is this an anime channel?
So that's why he's complaining about the anime-ification. Jeez.
Yeah, it is a Shin Megami Tensei channel. You're right. Oh my god. Oh, dude.
I mean, I see like the Iceman Demon, like whatever that is called. I forgot. It's been over a decade since I played the game. Yes, Jack Frost.
Just ask Jesus for help.
He's Atlas's mascot, basically.
Yeah.
Or the Prinnies from I can't Disgaea? I can't pronounce that game.
Yes.
The Prinnies, little penguins. Anyway.
Sex-based humor. So how about this? How do you write something like anime?
Oh, here we go.
Is it in the tropes, the approach, the execution?
No.
I bet you're wondering, what the hell is my point? You saw the title. This video is about JRPGs, yet I haven't mentioned them once. Get on with it, for heaven's sake. My point is that describing something as being anime is nebulous and meaningless when having a discussion on the topic.
So
Not
don't
if
make it
you
nebulous.
define it as Japanese animation.
So why don't you edit out like 3 minutes of your video?
Uh-huh.
Like this didn't go anywhere. We're basically back to zero.
Yeah, if you refuse to define anime, that is specific. Of course, it's going to be a nebulous term.
Yeah.
It's a
And
waste of time.
since you mentioned writing style, there are certain ways that Japanese use in conversation between characters, how they write characterization, and so on. That is just how the Japanese do it. It's not how the West does it.
Yeah, but that's
And
you could say that's another stereotype, which I was
yeah,
hate to
but we
bring
also
up
see
again.
that in how they write their novels that some manga are based on.
Yeah, but this is what he's basing his understanding is just here's a pattern. I don't know what it is, and it's a stereotype because people like think of shonen manga, and there's all these kids and they're in high school, and there's all the hijinks that get involved. That's anime to me, or Sailor Moon or Magical Girls. Like he's just gonna zero in on that, and like, dude, you're smarter than this. You've just listed terms and themes and genres and subgenres. Nail it down. And then use this is my definition, and then go from there. That's all you got to do.
I think he just gives up because he's overwhelmed to do this categorization because he can't see the actual common denominators in everything.
Then what's the point? This guy is just, I think anime is big. I can't define it. But it's a thing that influenced another big thing, like role-playing games. It's like, oh my, I would not want to hear this guy give a definition of RPGs.
I think this is a thing we see oftentimes also in other topics from this school of thought, where it's there are so many people with different definitions of the thing. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, so they're all correct. It's subjective, and therefore nothing is true.
I have a possible theory. He might be refusing to define anime so that he can weasel out of something later.
As well.
I don't know how that makes sense, though, because if you're saying the thing you can't define is influencing this other thing you can't define, where we go, like, how would you even connect the two?
Well, that's what you're not supposed to question, Smart. You're supposed to be, after these 3 minutes, you're supposed to be so confused that you will just listen to his hypnotic rambling.
Oh.
Yeah,
and agree, because he said nothing offending you, or you supposedly. I feel very offended by this garbage.
This might be a Mark Brown type where you're supposed to listen to it while you're playing something and not understand a single thing he says and not absorb anything.
I don't think he was really focusing on this video at all. It just feels like he's talking out of his ass.
Usually, when you're talking about a thing influencing another thing, you would talk about the target first, like, painting, like artwork in the early 20s of the 19th century had cubism. And cubism had various subgenres and styles. It was influenced by Picasso and all these other dudes. And they had structural cubism. And then there was expressionism and impressionism. And there's all these different subgenres. And those are all cubism. There's a parent category. And you do that. You logically connect the dots, how they got there. And you say, the war influenced cubism. The warification of cubism, right? Or whatever. And you go, okay, there's a topic. And then you look at history and you see, why did Picasso draw Guernica the way he did? Why did Dali draw or paint the pictures of women a certain way? Like, what was the theory behind that? How did he get there? That's it. And you connect the dots and you show us that connection. This guy's like, well, I don't even know what this thing is.
I hope he's not about to go into this about JRPGs too. He's off in JRPG, even though it was made by, I think, a German guy or a French guy.
French guy made JRPGs. Oh, the French. Putting their nose where it doesn't belong. Anyway, 3 minutes in, we were lost.
Everyone has different definitions for what makes something anime.
What's yours?
And I feel like arguing over it is stupid.
No.
If you're having a discussion about something and you describe it as being anime without expounding on it, you may as well have said nothing at all.
Just like you.
I mean, that's what you just did.
That's projection. He's just trying to justify his inability.
If he does not have a definition within the next 20 seconds, there's no hope for this video.
I mean, it might seem stupid if your arguments are this bad.
He's wasting a quarter of his video on excusing that he can't define anything.
Yeah.
And then wants to talk about how a thing is influenced by a thing he can't define.
Yeah, I could have started a video, the influence of cubism on modern art in the 1920s, and go, well, there's like several different kinds of cubism. It's a color, it's a style, there's math, there's I don't know what it is, and I don't know why I'm wasting your time, but I still can't figure it out. You're like, dude.
It's silly to argue about the cubism, because so let's just ignore the cubism. And now I will tell you how the cubism affected the things.
What? I mean, it kind of seems like at the end of the day, what's probably going to, I don't think he's going to say this, but what we're probably going to answer is the tropes that we define as anime are just tropes in Japanese writing that change as the years go by, and we're only noticing that the JRPGs that are coming out are becoming more and more like the anime that's coming out now. Those same writing tropes being used. And then
see, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's based off storytelling patterns, not visual style. Whisp, I thought, would be more accurate because there's all these visual arguments to be made about anime looking a certain way. But this guy's doing nothing.
Like in the 90s, we got all these edgy OVAs and stuff that were pushing the boundaries, and a lot of the JRPGs were starting to be like that, and they kind of stayed like that until like the early to mid 2000s, and then.
But in the 80s, 90s, the writing styles of Japanese video games was also in congruence with anime coming out at the time. So there's nothing different. There's just if the games today reflect the writing styles and tropes of today, there's no difference in that the writing styles and tropes of today reflect in the video games of today as well as they did in the past. Like, what the fuck?
Well, let's just not talk about Hideo Kojima in the 80s and his video games. Those were freaking weird. Can you imagine? I was influenced by Hideo Kojima's... what the hell was it called? What was it? Snatcher. Oh my god, what the hell is that?
Snatcher is just screams that like, oh, I watched Blade Runner and I loved it. But like, it's like, oh god, what is that?
We already unanimously agreed that Hideo Kojima, Hideaki Anno, George
Tommy
Lucas,
Wiseau, Neil Breen,
they all need to be put on a leash.
No, they should be locked in the same mental asylum.
One of those leashes that have a stick, like there's a noose at the end and there's a stick connecting the rope.
Let them all make a movie together.
Oh my god. Can you imagine that? Character designs by Tommy Wiseau.
What was the other one? Police Knots. I never played with that one.
Oh, that was actually in Metal Gear Solid 1, the mentioned poster.
They reference it with like a poster in
and the main character was literally just Mel Gibson from Lethal Weapon.
Oh god. Anyway.
Sorry.
Let's go. Let's keep going.
What does this have to do with JRPGs? If you've watched my previous videos, you are likely into the Shin Megami Tensei series from Atlus. In the last 10 years, there's been a pretty massive shift in both the company and the series.
Okay.
With the rise of Persona and its massive change from the dark and occult to bright and colorful waifus, it's not illogical to think that this could start to leak into the SMT series. There's also the fact that the old guard who made the series what it was has either stepped away from it or left the company altogether, leaving the franchise in the hands of brand new people who might be more open to the idea of taking it in a different direction. Persona has become anime and saw great success.
This makes no sense.
It was always anime.
Great success.
I have made the game anime.
Did Borat make Atlas?
They added cutscenes, and now that's why it's anime now.
No. The character style is.
No. It's because they're in high school, guys.
I look at the Shin Megami Tensei art, and it reminds me of 80s science fiction anime.
You know what?
The Persona one. The Persona one.
Persona 3 is literally Ava.
Wait a second. My brain is trying to process that.
Oh.
Persona 3 is literally Ava. Like, okay.
Where did Whisp go? There she is.
It has some really similar story beats.
Oh, okay. Story beats. All right. That might help my brain. Yeah, okay. The death of a friend who admits to being whatever. Okay, I see that one.
A teenager moves into a new town, gets forced into a team that fights monsters.
Sure.
There's a bunch of shit with the collective consciousness.
Okay, that's stretching it, but yeah. Wants to kill himself.
Keeps shooting himself in the head, but it just keeps activating a new superpower. A poor guy.
Why do I like the game so much though compared to the anime? They're so similar. I don't know.
I think Persona 3 just handles things a lot better. And it doesn't go too over the top like Ava does.
Maybe, yeah.
It also doesn't have a character like Shinji.
This is true.
A character literally named Shinji.
Well, the contrast is rather unique with the Persona 3 protagonist. He is so disconnected that he pushes himself so far to do whatever needs to be done. At least in the anime version of him, he was very suicidal, to the point of he'll just throw himself into combat and not concern himself with like whether he gets hurt. So that,
I mean, there's also a point where he realizes that because he does that, the Dark Hour is a kind of an integral part of who he is, and he almost doesn't want to end the Dark Hour.
yeah, that's been a common theme throughout all the Persona series, that everyone's a superhero until they save the day, and then they go back to their normal lives. They don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Like the side characters are always
Persona
like
4
that.
kind of does. Persona 4 does kind of sidestep this. I think Arakami says, the thing about fighting for a better tomorrow is that the tomorrows keep coming.
Persona 4, my favorite. Anyway, let's keep going.
So why not do it with SMT? It feels like with each release, there are people who claim that now is the time when SMT has become too anime. SMT4 is too anime because there's way more of a story and
says that?
character focus.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't trust V's opinion on bullshit.
Who says these things? How can you buy Japanese games and complain that they look Japanese?
There are characters in
This is
RPGs from Japan that look like anime characters also from Japan. You're like, yeah.
This is like buying games from Nigeria, if there was a Nigerian games company, and complain
No.
that there's so many black people there.
Here's what I've noticed. A lot of SMT fans complain the more that the main cast gets characterized. It seems like. I've noticed this, and I don't know why. Like, the first time you have, like, the Law Hero and the Chaos Hero actually kind of have personalities is in SMT4, and that's when people really started to complain about it.
Interesting. This all stemmed from the first, because we only got the first one originally, and it was called Revelations Persona, I think. They changed the title.
Yeah, that's the first Persona game, man.
Yeah, and it was originally Shin Megami Tensei, whatever.
No, it was a Megami even Persona, something like that.
It was very technical. Like a lot of the mechanics were very, not as technical as the SMT series, but still, it was. They started to make more quality sprites with a huge beast.
It was actually a little bit more. It was actually a little bit more tactical because there was a battle grid you could move your characters on.
Right. Yeah.
Positioning was really important.
It was weird. You had a guy with a sniper rifle that could hit like everyone on the screen with one bullet, and they would go and turn, like ding, ding, ding. The bullet would just like bounce around. Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, in Persona 1, everyone had a gun and a sword.
It was awesome. I loved it. And even 2 was cool too, but everyone just had goth guns and pink.
Everyone has their one weapon that they use.
Yeah.
Persona 2.
It was cool. It was very stylized. I liked the goth look, and the Persona designs were awesome. Anyway.
Compared to previous titles, as well as the general art style changing from classic Kazuma Kaneko to the modern Masayuki Doi. Apocalypse is too anime because the characters aren't as unique or original and instead feel like archetypes you'd find in a bunch of other Japanese anime and video games.
Okay, he's just...
When's that not been the case in Japanese games?
Yeah, he's just arguing about the history of a certain series, Shin Megami Tensei, that he knows, saying, hey, this game is getting more influenced because there's more ROM capacity on this disc and you could put more stuff on it, like character sprites and higher detail, and have stories with the backgrounds of these characters.
Yeah.
Another thing about the older SMT games is the Law Hero, Chaos Hero, and Main Hero weren't necessarily friends. But in the newer ones, they're starting to be more like, yeah, we're friends. It's a friend group now, and that makes it more like Persona, I guess.
Well, yeah, even in Persona 2, even the Innocent Sin, you thought the Mystery Boy was a villain, you weren't too sure, and they later developed that he has his own story and he ends up being a friend. So they play around with the who's a good guy, who's a bad guy a lot. Yeah, there's always someone double crossing you in those games for some reason.
I mean,
Yeah, even in Persona games. Yeah.
in SMT for Apocalypse, there's 2 settings you can go, and that's everyone or Edgy Boy who hates everyone.
Yeah, definitely the edgy boy. There's always one of those characters.
That's
Not
the
to
main
mention the fact that
character.
the power of friendship is a real phrase that is uttered. Strange Journey Redux is too anime because they removed the Kaneko art style for something way more generic and bland looking, as well as adding in a new plot that doesn't match well with the.
Oh, this is how Strange Journey looks now? I remember on
Yeah,
the
this-
DS it didn't look like this at all.
Yeah, this is the Redux. There's a
Okay.
story. I think there's new paths for all of the 3 routes, but there's also the 3 traditional routes too.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
this is a remake essentially.
Yeah,
All right, fair
an
enough.
update. But the first one was on the DS. This one was on the 3DS. It's fully voiced, and the art was updated. And also they added new story paths.
Cool.
original. SMT5 is too anime because. You know what? Now that I think about it, I didn't really see anyone accusing SMT5 of being too anime. Take your wins where you.
I also remember like Devil Survivor. Was that the game? It was also on the DS.
Yeah.
I think like that was like a typical anime style, but it wasn't really like the main focus
That
point.
that one was drawn by the artist who does Yura Rara and Bakano.
I think he's just, was he just trying to be sarcastic, or is he just randomly making up his points?
What is his point?
Yeah.
Where is this going?
Yeah, you could argue that when they did a crossover with Dante in number 3, it's like, well, that's obviously becoming an action game. It's like, no, no, it's not.
And I think most people like the crossover with Devil May Cry because they feel like the Devil May Cry world and the SMT world fit together pretty well.
Sure. Yeah, there's lots of crossovers that do make sense because they're using the concept of, well, that example of devil hunting, but yeah, no, it's whatever sells the product. Does it work? Yes. Does it break lore? Not really. It's fun. Do it. That's it. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, Cryohazard in the chat mentioned, don't show him the box art of the original Megami Tensei. I just looked it up. It looks, to me, distinctly Japanese. It's the 80s style of this sort of art. It's what you also see in Castlevania. And it also shares commonality with Berserk because it started around that time.
Yep. Everything.
Especially when you look at the female characters on the box art, that is distinctly Japanese art style.
Yeah, not to mention, this was still by Kaneko, I think. Kaneko's art style changed a lot during his tenure with the series. Like, SMT1 and SMT3 look super different.
Alrighty.
You can get them, I guess. For me, I never thought SMT had hit that point of being too anime. In fact, after 5, what fears I did have been a.
See, that sentence means nothing if you don't describe what it means to be anime.
Okay, so like 5 minutes of this video could have been cut off. It's like we're back to like step 1.
Well, can't define as terms, use the term in a sentence makes no difference.
Is this anime? Oh, this turned into this. Anyway, I don't think it's a problem.
Which is funny because
have
the
a-
common theme in Persona games is the butterfly. It's the meme of the guy pointing at the butterfly. Is this
Yeah, I
anime?
just wanted to say, I fear the stream memes will be 50 times that.
Yeah.
The butterfly is Belmont, which ties into the Jungian aspect from the Persona case, because Belmont was the old man that appeared to Jung in a dream. And also, I can't remember why he turns into a butterfly, but there is a reason.
Alrighty. 5 minutes. Let's keep going.
assuaged. Apocalypse's writing freaked me out, and it made me scared for the future of the series.
Why?
Yet I don't think it ever hit that point.
Of what?
But here's the thing. SMT has always been anime. It was just a different.
Ah! Why are you talking?
What is the thing you're describing, sir, that has always been the way it has been? What is he doing?
We have absolute nothing solid. It's like building a castle in the swamp. It's gonna suck like 4 times.
The castle has always been in a swamp. What?
I'll build it on a swamp.
It's
Everyone
video
call me
essays,
crazy.
Babel.
This is bizarre.
It's Gedelp.
Type of anime from the stereotype people think of when they describe something as being anime.
So now we're back to stereotypes, but which one?
To me, a
brain is
stereotype.
melting.
To me. Here we go. You got it. Here we go.
Finally.
Here we go, guys. Here's the definition.
Get the popcorn.
Typical anime is one that stars teenage characters with varying
What?
hair colors.
What do we do? Okay.
What is that?
So the shonen subgenre of anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Archie is an anime then. Archie's an anime. That's it. Teenagers with varying hair colors.
So Ghost in the Shell, not an anime. Berserk, not an anime. I guess Sailor Moon is an anime. They're teenagers, right? Okay.
Thundercats
they
is
are.
an anime, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But they eventually get married. Doesn't that negate that thing? Like they grow out from being an anime.
They start out
Essentially.
like 16 or 14, I think.
Oh boy.
Well, at least now we know that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is not an anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have hair. They have headbands.
Okay, let's keep going.
Typically with the male protagonist. Parents are usually
With
not
the male
Magical
protagonist.
girls, magical girls are not anime.
Okay, Sailor Moon is not an anime.
Uh-oh. Typically, though. He said typically. He's not sure. Just typically.
This is amazing.
Mark, what's
the
anime?
show is
It's
not an
a
anime.
guy and he's got some hair and he's surrounded by girls. Like, what?
School days?
Oh, God. Yeah, that's the best anime of all.
Doesn't everyone in school days have black hair?
Uniforms?
But Battle Athletes is not an anime. There's no guy,
Okay.
only girls.
If there's a romance, it's most likely a harem coupled with a
What?
There's a romance, it's a horror.
What? How? Why?
Anime.
Question. How much Gundam is now not anime?
Oh, all of it.
The one that guy with the headband was the protagonist.
This is
Can't remember his name.
So all
Shinchan is not anime.
romance subplots must be harems. Like, what?
Yes, Toradora is a harem anime.
Oh my God.
Oh god.
I would
Ghibli is not anime.
I would hate to hear his definition of what a harem anime is. It just keeps going.
This is great.
bunch of sexual humor in which the male protagonist doesn't mean to perv on the girls, but it keeps happening anyway, and the females physically assault him for it. This sexual humor is often meant to both entertain and titillate the assumedly male consumer. If it's an action-based
Random
series,
trope,
there will be a
random
theme of
trope.
getting stronger and bettering yourself, with a protagonist that is the epitome of virtue. There's a lot of
Shonen
screaming and
subgenre
yelling,
again.
with the
Random
villain being
character
incredibly
traits.
edgy. The villain will have a sad backstory that somehow justifies their actions to too many people who
Random
will argue that
character
their
trait.
actions weren't that bad, or that they shouldn't.
Are we watching like
this
a
is
sub channel? Like, is this the Secrets channel of Red? Like, I
Maybe. This guy's all over the
is
place.
this
This
sounds like an episode of Trope Talk.
Guys, chocolate cake has, of course, chocolate, and then you have a 4-layer marzipan center, and then around that, it could be vanilla, it could be chocolate too, but I think it's vanilla most of the time. And on top of that, you have another thin layer of the chocolate mousse, but only down the street where I go to, or else you go somewhere else, okay? All right.
Well, it's 50% sugar as well.
Yeah, that's right.
How can you be worse at this than Red?
Good Lord.
This is amazing. Like, we need to watch more.
I mean, I get it.
He's
trying
going
to.
through several genres now. I want to. Okay, so far, Grave of the Fireflies is not anime.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay,
amazing.
It's a
I get
harem.
it. He's trying to describe like what the stereotypical.
He's going for
anime is. He's not
subgenres.
trying to define it as a whole, but like he's just doing it really badly.
Yeah, like I said,
Look by
it's
these
the
definitions.
common
By these
denominator.
definitions,
I thought he
by these
would.
definitions, the West could easily make anime.
Yeah, I thought he would have used patterns in storytelling, which he would consider stereotypes because he has no better and just as a whole. But he's literally saying, no, it's within this subgenre, and there could be romance. And if it is, it's like he just keeps going further down. Like, dude, you're just describing a specific kind of show in shonen, which may be like 2%, maybe 1% of all anime ever.
I think if you asked him to name a single character archetype, he wouldn't be able to.
What archetype is Luffy? Yeah. Well, he's a hero. He's a male. And he believes in friendship.
But he doesn't go to a school, so it's not an anime
Oh,
character.
that's true. Oh, this guy.
That's amazing.
Be blamed for what they did. Catchy. While it might not line up with what you think of, this is my stereotypical anime. But just because something is nothing
Good on
like
you,
what
bro.
I described doesn't mean it's not anime.
I'm worthless.
Just as I said before, anime isn't just one thing. Cowboy Bebop, Black Clover, and Pop Team Epic are all
So this is what that was for. So we can define anime and then weasel out and say, well, that's not really what anime is.
You just told us what you like.
I can't define this thing. It's too big, but here's my definition anyway. By the way, I'm wrong.
This is the everything I hate is really popular.
I
You only
guess.
notice it because you don't like it.
Yeah, it's something like I don't like what happened to my favorite game series. It's becoming too like this other medium over there, and it's obviously inspired by it because it comes from the same damn country. Oops. I guess I'll talk about something else now.
Yeah, I think it's just he's noticing the differences now because it's stuff that he doesn't like.
I don't. This is so wacky. He could have just says I don't like Shin Megami Tensei and the way it's being depicted because there's too much anime influence. Go with that video. Don't go with this video. This is dumb.
considered anime, yet they're drastically different from each other in so many ways. While it might be harder to see since we're so far removed from the era it was released in, SMT was absolutely influenced by the media of its time.
Really?
The most well-known would be Devilman, Violence Jack, and Fist of the North Star. All three are heavily influential, incredibly popular pieces of fiction that had an effect on many different works. And you can
Was Violent Jack widely known?
No.
In Japan? I don't know.
This is such a specific.
Yeah, I know, but he's the
I
SMT
don't even
guy,
know
right?
what to call it.
Yeah, he's the very niche audience kind of channel. So
Not to mention when SMT started, it was kind of like a soft reboot to Megami Tensei, to the Megami Tensei adaptations they made. They made those back in like '87, and SMT came out in like '92, I think.
It wasn't even SMT at the time. It was just Megami Tensei from the Famicom.
Either way, this is very esoteric knowledge that we have no, like, we guess he's right, and this is what he knows, so we're assuming he's right. But the argument is really adjacent. It has nothing to do with what he's trying to talk about. So, sure, why not? Roses are red. Fantastic.
Okay, general warning. Watch Violent Jack, but only after the kids are in bed.
classic SMT. The post-apocalyptic setting, the more adult tone, the nightclubs, and overall
Post-apocalypse.
The post-apocalyptic setting came from the book sources. It was a continuation of the adaptation of.
All right, well.
It didn't end in the first one, but it ended a little while into the series.
Okay, this guy cannot distinguish between tropes, subgenres, genre, and style in general. He is. I don't think he is capable of proper categorization at large.
Or having an actual point that you could follow.
Yeah, he's just making random connections in his brain.
Yeah, now we're just talking about Shin Megami Tensei now again. It's like, why?
Guys, do you remember something? Because I think like we missed like a very major point. He has not taught a single line about Xenogears.
Or Xenoblade.
He still has over half the video for that.
I know, but it's 7.5 minutes.
All right, let's.
Somebody in the chat warned me about the Xenoblade part.
Let's
so
go.
there will be
but like
something.
he warned about that, but not about Shin Megami Tensei. It's
Yeah. Anyway, let's hopefully get to that point because I'm dying to find out what he has to say about those crazy games.
Feel of everything. However, the biggest influence is literally in the title. Digital Devil story Megami Tensei played a huge role in laying the groundwork for SMT.
Don't care.
And while this series' biggest accomplishment would be leading to the creation of SMT,
Oh,
it
look, 80s
itself
anime.
wasn't really that noteworthy. There were a ton of these
who cares?
edgy,
Keep going.
dark, demonic anime back in the 80s, many of which were much more notable than Digital Devil's story when taken on their own. Just because Shin Megami Tensei doesn't feature wacky hijinks, lots of sexual humor, fan service, characters constantly going to school, dating, J-pop visuals, and everything else you think of when you think of anime.
What? You just showed us anime on the screen, for fuck's sake. Anime, not just school kid stuff. What the fuck is wrong with you? Get a brain.
Shin Megami Tensei literally, it doesn't start, but the second day you wake up in the game, your mom tells you that you were screaming some girl's name at night, and you get embarrassed, like an anime. It's literally a sexual joke that she thinks you were having like a wet dream or something.
I think we can understand that the true goddess reincarnation came from the goddess reincarnation series. It's not a hard stretch, okay? I think we got it. This is not a... Maybe it came from the same thing of the same time. Yeah, it did. Okay, let's keep going.
Anime doesn't mean it's not anime. Another example of this would be with Xenoblade Chronicles.
Here we are.
Xenoblade 2 is criticized a lot. I'm part of the group that does the criticizing, and no, it's not because I like Xenoblade 1 more. Side note, it honestly feels like the Xenoblade fanbase is going the way of SMT and Persona. Xenoblade 1 fans, regardless of whether it's fair, criticize 2 for doing things a way they don't like. 2 fans then criticize 1 in retaliation after growing tired of the bashing 2 games.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I
I
know.
love both games.
He's just mumbling at this point.
I think he's just making up shit. And if at all, he's bringing up arguments of 12-year-olds on the internet who probably barely understand what boobs are.
People are complaining about a game. Oh.
Or basement dwellers of the...
Stay on topic, sir.
You know what makes what is the biggest differences between these two games? The combat system.
All right.
And it all turns into people yelling at each other, blaming each other, acting as if everyone who speaks against their opinion are all the same enemy,
Welcome to fandom.
and are unable to accept that
No, that's not just projection from you, idiot.
not everything is an attack, and that maybe we should just wait until Xenoblade 3 is out before trashing it when we know barely anything about the gameplay.
Don't care.
So you're now talking about gameplay.
Can we get on with the actual
what?
topic
This
of the
guy's
video?
just random bull-
Why?
this is
Yeah.
just
Why is he
random
talking about
bullshit. He's
It's
just
just...
Anyway, Xenoblade 2 is criticized a lot, with many people saying it's because it became anime.
No, the
These
first
people
one was.
are stupid. Xenoblade 1 is anime as hell. The developers even said they storyboarded the cutscenes as if it was a shonen anime, which is why we get glowing power.
That's what you do in cutscenes. You storyboard them.
He finally like went with the correct definition, like shonen anime. Why couldn't he use it when he was describing the definition for himself? It's just
Because there was argument earlier.
how does he
within the
write
verse.
his scripts?
He doesn't.
How does he
just
plan
writes
this?
text. I'm pretty sure he just writes down text and then he reads it.
I think this is just a poorly structured rant. This is just him venting about stuff that he doesn't love.
Yeah, he's talking about Shin Megami Tensei and Xenoblade. That's it. Therefore, JRPGs are becoming animified somehow.
Anime-ification being.
In Xenoblade 1, the eyes were on average a little bit smaller. That's it.
I mean, it's
lower resolution when it came out.
It's just the same difference of the stylization of anime from the times both games were released.
Maybe that's just what confuses him. Or the people he claims to talk about.
Aura and fast-flowing action scenes. If you were to look into the first Xeno game, Xenogears, you'd find that game was also heavily influenced by tons of mecha anime. To claim Xeno
so your
became
starting
anime
point doesn't make sense.
with Xenoblade 2
Look
is
at the style.
utterly ridiculous.
What?
But there is a difference between how Xenogears handles things and how Xenoblade 2 handles it.
Okay.
One of the reasons people call Xenoblade 2 anime is because of its use of fan service.
Really?
A defense often used is the fact that sexuality has always been a thing in the series.
Okay.
For instance, Xenogears features multiple scenes in which characters are butt naked.
So?
There are also scenes in which it is implied, if not outright confirmed, characters just had sex.
So?
Gears...
By this logic, Sex and the City is anime.
Yeah, what the fuck is he talking about? Here's a story beat where adult scenes happen. Yeah, and?
So fan service and sex scenes don't make anime, you fucking retard.
What is he on
Sorry,
about?
I don't know how else to call this.
I thought he would have brought up the
dumb.
opening intro in Xenogears because it's very animated. It has 2D and 3D animation, and it's like, oh, cool, space.
I like how he's extending the definition of what is an anime for him. Like,
Yeah, I know.
it has to be in a school. It has to have a harem, and then they have to have sex.
But he does. But nowhere in this is the blatant Japanese drawing style mentioned. That just defeats anyone's argument that it became more anime. Like, dude, did you see that opening? Did you see that opening animation drawing the operator girl?
Yeah.
Like, dude,
Yep.
dude. Who says that is not anime? Who is so brain dead and who is so brain dead to need to make a video that doesn't even touch upon that most obvious of points to refute that it was always anime, but not talk about the actual drawing style.
Or
everything else that doesn't even have anything to do. I'm losing
or the
my
combination. Like that would have been a good argument because when you talk about gaming, they have the 2D anime, especially Xenogears. Well, there's not too many cutscenes, but there's the 2D animation, and then they have the 3D animation together with that. So you could argue because it's a 3D engine, they're literally putting anime into the cutscene, and then amalgamating that with 3D. So I would say, yeah, that would be a great anime-ification of gaming or JRPGs because they're taking it literally and drop. You don't even have to define the word. Just look at it. It's in the game. It's 2D art. Voila. There you go. Done.
Look, the trick, Macca, the trick is don't argue with 12-year-olds on the internet. They're always wrong.
I don't know why I brought that up.
I think I see what's going on here. We're about to see him into a rant about fan service, I think.
Oh, God.
It's going to be, well, I like it when it's done the way I like it, but when it's done the way I don't like it, I don't want to throw words in his mouth, but I think he's touching it. It's sexist and bad and immature.
We can make the same argument at the end of the 90s, the use of the CD-ROM and full motion video, and now games are more like movies. Now they're interactive movies, and then they came with GoldenEye and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, they're basing games off movies and all this other bullshit. You're like, no, that's not a term. We don't Hollywoodify gaming. We don't think like that. We just look at the game and say, is it fun? Is the characters cool? Is the story entertaining? And whatever we get in terms of media is like, oh, it's this style. Okay, that's it.
actually goes farther on the sexual front when compared to Xenoblade 2.
Not really.
While anime isn't the only thing to feature sex, it is a
It doesn't have sex. Everything's implied.
Game of Thrones is anime now.
Where's the nudity and sex and freaking, like, I don't remember any dongs flopping about in Xenogears or robot dongs, or I remember a big giant pink bear creature that got crucified. That was kind of ridiculous. That was a religious thing, not a sex thing, more of a violent thing. So.
I'm so sorry for bears.
Is he playing Xenogears?
No, like you
relationships
said, like a bear being like, crucified.
It's a choo-choo.
Relationships between people are anime.
Faye and Ellie like each other, and Myung and that other knight dude, she's like manipulating him. That's why they're sleeping together. It's all I remember. Oh, God.
common trope that anime is incredibly sexualized.
No, it's not.
But here's the thing. Sex and nudity can be executed in different ways depending on its use.
Oh, so it has nothing to do with anime, you jerk.
He's talking about the execution of the sex scene.
Yeah, like I said, he's about to say, this one's done tastefully. But this one where she screams after someone grabs her ass is done untastefully.
I can't believe this guy. This is ridiculous. This is like
almost through.
This
Come
is
on,
like
come on.
he didn't have friends growing up,
Yeah.
and now he's talking about the games he always wanted to talk about when he was a kid.
And he made the error of going to choosing media science in university.
No, he never went. He never went to university. He didn't even get in the door.
You think he just
No.
got this shit from watching other video essayists?
Yes.
Probably.
I disagree. You have to have gone to higher education to say something this stupid.
To be this messed
okay.
up? Yeah, I believe
Interesting
that
argument.
too. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Anyway.
Especially when you analyze things like themes, character, narrative purpose, and camera work. With
Themes.
Gears, sex is used more to establish and further the relationship between characters.
No, it's not.
When Faye and Ellie have sex in Ellie's home, it feels like the natural evolution for the relationship and the payoff for the hours upon hours of romantic and sexual tension between.
No. What are you talking? Okay. Faye is or Faye Fong Wong, the hero, is going through amnesia the entire time. He has no idea who he is until he finds out, and he's confused. He's constantly like, "Who am I? What's going on?" Ellie is kind of like in love with him, but she's like his enemy, and they're fighting each other until they finally decide to save each other and help each other out. Everything's implied. It's not some, oh my God. It's not like some dramatic moment. It's just, okay, yeah, they love each other. They said so. The dialogue's right there. That's it. There's even a reincarnation story of them loving each other in the past and having kids and whatever. So there's no like big romantic moment. It's barely a moment. Like even with the Myung and the other guy in the bed there, it's just one little scene on the second disc. Whoop-de-doo.
The two. It's the consummation of their love for each other.
So Manga Moon just told me in the discussion, in the Smudcast discussion on Discord, that he's about to say that Xenoblade 2 fan service is bad because it doesn't service the themes.
The theme of what?
Makes no sense.
The theme of Xenogears is confusion, amnesia, and I want to be strong to save the people I love that's been perverted over.
I think it's just the video essayist themes that's intangible that nobody can find.
There's so many weird characters in Xenogears, and their plots are so convoluted. You're just like, what are you? You're me, but you're a version of me that went crazy, and somehow you obtained immortality, and you beat the shit up by piloting a mech. And there's another version of me who's even crazier, and he just also beats the shit out of me. But he's actually my body, but a different person. It's like all this other nonsense. And but the theme of love, it's like, yeah, that's there. There's also a giant pink fur ball that gets crucified. There's robots that get crucified. I don't know what the freaking hell that means. There's so much bullshit in this game. Like, oh, the sex. Like, what?
I think he's complaining that it's not part of the story. It doesn't develop anything. It's just there to look good.
So many of the religious iconography and terms are nonsense in Xenogears. The Zohar modifier, Groff, Shavat, all these names and words and terms, just like how Neon Genesis Evangelion had all these words that make no sense. The Holy Sephiroth and God knows what the hell they talk about in the lab and the computer room is like, oh, whatever.
At the end of the game, when they're running around the void butt-ass naked, no one is drawn or framed in a way that feels like you're meant to be getting off on the image.
Okay.
Meant to?
It's very common in Japanese media for when people are in spiritual worlds, they don't have clothes on because that's them that's them natural. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, pure.
They gave Nest down too. Except for the rest where they gave Nest pajamas for some reason.
Yeah, so guys, when you ever go to an art gallery and you see nudes, I don't know about you, but I don't get aroused. So...
Oh, you mean the statue of David isn't getting you hard?
No, it doesn't.
No way.
It doesn't do it for me.
I think that's basically what he's saying. It's just he's saying that when it is meant for arousal, it's bad because it doesn't serve story.
Yeah, like I think like in our culture, like man, like if someone is naked, then it's just like pure, like it doesn't have anything to hide. But I know like in the Japanese games, I think Earthbound was an example where they censored it, so the main character was wearing like pajamas instead of like being naked like the Japanese version. I think it was like very obscure.
And
yes, that's the one. That's the one. Like Ness is naked in the Japanese version.
And in the US version, he has pajamas on.
Yep.
It's tastefully done. And your point is?
It feels more biblical. Faye has
What?
defeated Deus and has met with what could be considered a god. Being depicted like Adam and Eve serves a thematic purpose. The world of Xenogears started with Abel and the original Elheim, and now the god that created this world is freed from Deus by the reincarnation of those two characters.
Does that make any sense to you guys?
No, because Deus
it makes a bit more sense than Evangelion.
This is true. This is possibly true. I will buy that argument, and I will throw it in your face.
I mean, I think it's fine, but I just don't think you have to necessarily have like fan service and nudity or whatnot. I don't think it necessarily has to serve the story. If it doesn't do that, it's not bad.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with having a character who's defined by their sexuality. That's fine. But if you want to tie into plot, that's better. But that's not... That doesn't mean anything to the context of this frickin' video. Yes, it also has a submarine that goes under the sand, which makes no sense.
Like, it's not bad when Persona 5 shows Anoff as being sexy because
she's a model.
And it's part of her character.
Yeah, exactly. Like what is this guy getting the point to? Like, what is he trying to say? The ending involves nudity, therefore it's okay because it's about them being, I don't know, part of their spiritual selves, blah, blah, blah. You're like, yes, and what does that have to do with anime-ifying the whole genre?
If it's funny, it's an anime jail.
There are so many bizarre moments in Xenogears where Faye is talking to himself or having a brain experience with another version of himself or meeting another version of himself. They're like, oh, okay. And then there's like the little Faye, there's Kid Faye, there's Evil Faye, And then there's those two other Fays, which are actual Fays that never died or whatever. It's confusing. But because they're naked and it's done well, therefore good. Whatever, sure.
With Xenoblade 2, it never goes as far as sex and nudity, instead opting for...
See that? That's sexy. I don't know about you. That looks good.
But that's not nudity.
Exactly. So I would be marginally more aroused at this than I would at going to the art gallery.
Yeah, but it's designed for arousal, so it's...
There is also a point as to why these blades look the way they do. And normal people are usually dressed completely normally. Blades' first looks are defined by the inner wishes and drives and aspirations of the ones awakening them.
Just
After that, their looks are fixed.
Weird.
So whoever first summoned Bridget, this is a reflection of that person. And that happened thousands of years before. Because she's gone through several incarnations. It always looks the same. It's always about the first time a blade is awakened. And that's why some of all the special blades look very special. Because they got awakened by very special people.
So actually, he's completely wrong about the fan service in Xenogears 2 being only for arousal and not actually for plot purposes as well.
Okay.
Simpler things like revealing outfits. The designs of characters like Pyra and Mithra feel like they were designed to titillate first and convey attributes of their characters second. Pyra is the quiet, motherly type, while her sister Mithra is the bold, brash one.
It's not pausing.
Both of them are meant to be...
There you go.
I think my watch together broke. Sisters is the wrong word for these two characters, you duns.
Yeah,
They're parts of the same person. They're parts of the same personality. Like even Mithra is not the full personality, even though because the Aegises are very special blades.
Yeah, nobody would call Mr. Hyde Dr. Jekyll's brother.
True as well. So Mithra was first awakened by Adam. Their clothing styles, their looks fit together. Pyra is a creation of Mithra. She's like a deliberately created sub-personality. So that Mithra could go into subconscious mode and go like, I don't want to deal with anything in the world. You fake personality I made up, you do that. You get super user rights and have fun. I don't want to bother with reality anymore. That's the point. And when Mithra finally makes peace with herself, with who she is, with her power, and takes the responsibility, she has her own growing up story. Just like Rex does his.
So what is
her true form comes out, which reflects her high-tech being that actually fits into the time where she was created first.
So what is the titillating aspect here? Is it her bust? Is it her personality? Like what is the
Probably
thing?
the big boobs and the
clothes
hot
are really
pants.
tight and her boobs are apparent.
That's it?
Probably the big boobs and the hot
That
pants.
is not a revealing outfit.
And maybe the short shorts too.
Yeah, but compared to the other girl who was obviously had a huge section of her clothing removed in the front, that's more.
It's just a boob window.
Yeah, I know, but that's more like attractive or sexually.
Look, basically, they both have the same boob window.
Really?
It's just that Pyra has some covering
under
over it, but you see the outline of her boobs just the same.
Well, that's different though. Clothing and without clothing is different, obviously. So that's what he might be referring to. The body types are apparently bad. Having attractive women is bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's bad and skin tight outfit. Yeah.
And Chad, Rex and Adam are not just similar in Mithra's eyes; they are related to each other.
All right.
They have the same hairstyle, for fuck's sake.
Incomplete. So naturally, the best way to convey these aspects of Pyra is to have her show more skin? Because she's incomplete?
What?
I guess
What is that
the
logic? Do you
I
need a
guess the
brain?
back window. I guess the back window is sexual too.
Sure.
This guy needs to get outside more. Go to a beach.
Go to the, I was about to say
Go to a beach resort, please.
Live-
Grow up.
Live in Florida. People literally shop in outfits that show more than this.
Yet she's also meant to be the modest one. On the other hand, Mithra was
Modest?
designed to
She's
show
warm.
less skin despite her being the loud one. Now, let's look at the cutscenes. Unlike in 1 and
I wouldn't say Mithra is showing less.
I know, but-
with her boob window.
what does this have to do with-
That's Matt's argument.
What does this have to do with what his original point was? That
I have no fucking clue. For him,
Because
for
the
him,
sexual-
somehow the sexual depiction has something to do with being anime.
oh god,
Yeah, that
Completely retarded.
because the sexual depiction isn't something to do with the story, and it's just too titillating. It's anime. That's his point.
X, Xenoblade 2 doesn't feature multiple armor sets you can freely swap between. In the first two, scenes were framed in a way that was content neutral, because they didn't know whether the characters would be wearing something revealing or
All right.
Have you? What? No. I need to hear this again because this sounds like absolute bullshit. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of JRPGs where the outfit doesn't change depending on what you wear anyway.
No. I want to hear this.
Now, let's look at the cutscenes. Unlike in 1 and X, Xenoblade 2 doesn't feature multiple armor sets you can freely swap between. In the first two, scenes were framed in a way that was content neutral. Because they didn't know whether the characters would be wearing something revealing or something modest, they had to place the camera so that nothing would look weird. You would get the occasional butt shot, but it never felt that excessive or intrusive.
Strange. In my memory, the cutscenes would have the outfits on.
As far as I remember, I mean, I haven't played this game, but most JRPGs don't have a system that changes your outfit depending on what armor you have.
No, Xenoblade 1, if you put on armor, the character model would have on the armor. And there were tons of different armor sets. Xenoblade X has that as well. And Nintendo of America went so far in its censorship that it changed the outfits, changed the model, the clothing of.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And I am pretty sure, maybe it's just certain cutscenes, but I'm pretty sure that the characters had these different outfits on, and there are some very revealing ones, especially for Miss I forgot her name. Sniper healer who heals you by shooting you with sniper rifle rounds. And what was her name? Girl interest.
Yeah. He did say that some of the outfits were revealing.
So main girl. Melia mainly has cute stuff. But main girl has very, very sexy stuff. So what is this fucking argument? Bullshit.
He did admit that some of the outfits in the original one were sexualized. I will give him that.
Again, what does it have to do with the point, though? Like, okay, he has attractive women in a video game, which are an influence from anime, I guess?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. Right.
He's trying to define bad sexualization and good sexualization, I guess. It's just the whole.
Yeah, but that's idiotic because that's then also just a cultural thing. You go to another place on the planet, and then what you think is bad sexualization is completely normal in that area and not even seen as sexualization.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And the other way around.
This is just a Puritan argument.
All right.
Xenoblade 2 doesn't have that limitation. Since everyone's outfit is controlled by the story, they can take it into consideration when blocking, and it ends up reminding me of sex positions sometimes. For those who don't know, in Game of Thrones, they often try to spice up moments of exposition by inserting sex into the scene somehow.
Why are you...
That's what Xenoblade 2 can feel like at times. Only I think it's worse here because it distracts from important plot and dialogue.
sex position, like Game of Thrones.
How is
Because the characters are standing around. The only places where that is remotely where a remotely sexual scene is happening is when Mithra wakes up in Rex's bed and is horribly embarrassed about it, blushing all over and running away and doing the tsundere thing.
What is this scene? How is this sexual?
Because Mithra has.
I think he's just running beer.
It's because Mithra has boob window.
Oh god. What the? What is?
This guy's retarded.
What's happening?
What is this?
I'm saying it can feel like. Oh god, dude, this is. What are you doing?
I mean, I woke up, but like, what is
He's writing his argument on the screen. That's fantastic.
Yes, I hate.
Did he give up?
I don't know. This is bizarre.
Think of something during editing, and instead of just saying it into a microphone and adding it and editing,
I think he's projecting.
Totally in the spirit of Evangelion.
I think he's projecting again with this. Like, they add stuff like this to keep the player's attention during scenes where they're expositing a ton of important information that could potentially get boring, and I find it kind of insulting. I didn't find any of these scenes boring, and neither do I find Pretty Girls insulting. The only one who's insulted by
dialogue is distracting him.
The only one here who's insulted by Pretty Girls with a little bit of skin exposed is you, fucking Puritan idiot.
I'm not even sure he's a Puritan. I think he's just trying to make an argument that...
I only ever hear this of people who complain about women showing their ankles and shoulders.
And it doesn't matter if he's left wing or right wing. Say it anyway.
They exist on both sides.
I'm not even sure what he's trying to say. Like, it's just there are sexual humor, there are sexual scenarios. You're like,
he's trying to white knight for the virtual woman who are being sexualized, Smud.
Yes.
Really against the will.
That's silly.
Yes.
That's too silly.
I agree completely. That's what he's doing.
Oh god.
He's offended by having to see a pretty girl. So either he's white knighting or he's gay.
Okay, what I can't follow. Anyway, we'll just keep going. We're almost done anyway.
Making comparisons insulting, I agree.
Also, again, just say this into the mic and
also,
edit it
I never
in.
watched Game of Thrones. From what I've been told, I made the right choice. When Mithra explains that Hayes' core crystal is the wrong shape, she makes a diamond with her fingers that just so happen to frame her...
Because that's where Hayes has her core crystal, you dunce.
Also, that's where you would hold your hands if you were making a symbol.
Did you know how arms work?
Face?
No, she should have put it around her vagina. That'd be, more obvious.
In front of her belly button.
I think he would have wanted her to extend it into the air so that we don't need to see her boobs while we look at it. Oh.
Is this offending anyone?
Incredibly unnatural.
This is only offending Puritans, whether they are right-wing or left-wing. We have this as the Christian fundamentalists, and we have this as the social justice warriors.
So
because those never know whether they are pro sexual freedom or against sexual freedom.
Yeah, but he's reduced anime to just
they hold out their hands in front of their faces and chests too.
It would make less sense if she made it in front of her face or her belly, because Nia is supposed to see what she means, and she makes the symbol where Hayes' core crystal is. Hayes' core crystal is lower on her clothing than Mithra's is. Mithra's is up on her collarbone.
Okay.
Nia's is also lower, by the way. Oh, spoilers.
Let's go.
Boob window. Rex waking up with his head in Pyra's lap.
Oh yeah, also, thanks, chat. Mithra is also making the gesture to another girl. If you think the other girl is sexually aroused by that, you have a problem.
By the way, he called Mithra motherly before. It's pretty commonly seen as motherly to hold someone's head in your lap while they sleep or something. So this would actually line up with your characterization.
POV shot where you get to look up at her massive perky breasts that cover part of her face.
That's what happens when your head is in someone's lap.
Yes. This guy has never seen a girl. Not from this perspective. This guy has never seen a girl from this perspective. And chat, yes, there are right-wingers whining like this. They've been there in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. They were the ones always complaining that mainly that video games were turning us violent, but they were also complaining about the sexy girls in video games. Now the left wingers are just they're more focusing on the girls looking sexy in video games than they are complaining about the violence. They just have a different focus, but they're both doing it.
It's the same complaint, just different reasons.
I don't even know what his reasons are anymore.
Different priorities.
He's reduced anime to fan service. You're like, what?
Yeah.
No, what he's done is he's reduced anime to now wish fulfillment.
It doesn't feel like blocking this way is meant to convey something or tie in thematically. Rather, they use the fact that the characters have static designs in this game to frame shots in a way meant to display TNA.
He's
never had his head in someone's lap, especially not a pretty girl.
If we were to argue that the game engine uses different, like real-time cutscenes and uses different skins, so the argument is then, well, what if they had a more revealing top for this girl? Would that be more sexually suggestive? And the answer is no, because it's the same pose, they're doing the same scene, the clothing makes no difference. It doesn't change any story.
The top was like a baggy t-shirt or something.
Would you have complained? The question is, would you have complained less if it had only been this scene and not the scene, the first-person view scene of Rex?
Yeah, like if she gets a burqa, is that bad or worse? Like or better? Like I don't get it.
No. I mean, just for because I think he's a bit dumb. I believe that had we just had this shot.
And it didn't.
And not the first-person shot where you see it from Rex's eyes and see Pyra's underboob and her beautiful, warm smile. Would he have complained less if he had just seen this shot? Because I think he is unable to relate to the scene because he's never been with a girl.
I'm not sure because I think he would still probably say like, "Oh look, Rex's face is like right next to her boobs."
Yeah, that's what happens when you have your head in the lap of the girl while she's making sure that you are resting safely, because Pyra is a very caring character. Pyra is not doing this for the sexy. She's doing this for Rex to be comfortable while after he's been unconscious.
I'm not against fan service. Hell, Xenosaga...
Wait, you're not against it?
It really sounds like you are.
Okay, I'm really confused.
Complain about it this much and then say you're not against it. You make absolutely no sense.
What is happening? What is happening with this video? Is he trying to say anime-ification is good or bad? Like, what is...
No, I think he's torn between what he actually wants and the virtue signaling that he thinks he is expected to do by whatever his peer group is.
All right.
Also did this with Cosmos and the beach scenes in 1 and 3. But in Xenoblade 2, it feels more distracting because there's so much more of it. Not to mention the addition of stuff like the infamous sleepwalking scene that seems to exist almost exclusively to let you look at Mithra's boobies and to add one of the worst...
Oh my god.
No, you actually see less of her boobies here than anywhere else.
What is wrong with this scene? This isn't sexual.
Well, you get to bang like 2 different chicks? That's awesome.
That are the same chick?
Yeah, technically
it's 3 chicks that are the same chick.
Oh my god.
Cool.
No.
Moving on.
No, there's no actual banging in the game.
Yeah, well.
Okay, I'm not playing
anime
it.
has ever created. Guy accidentally sexual thing? Girl upset. Girl assault boy. Misunderstanding. Hilarious.
No, you're an idiot. This is not this is not even a misunderstanding. You don't even understand the scene. And yes, things like this do happen.
So
sometimes.
because in Japanese anime, shonen anime manga or whatever, there are times when a girl falls asleep or a girl falls over and boy catches girl, or girl wakes up next to boy. She thinks said boy is bad or perverted and therefore is embarrassed and starts throwing things. That's the connection he's trying to make. That human interaction in all of its capacities has these patterns, and you could see those patterns easily in manga and anime. And now you can see them,
and also breasts.
and now you could see them in video games cutscenes. That's his anime-ification of JRPGs. That they have the technology now to have cutscenes that do comedy of a sexual or dramatic nature, whatever human interaction that might be.
As if this was anything new.
I mean, like, yeah, would people going to buy milk at the store animated in a cutscene on a video game be an anime-ification of JRPGs? I guess so. It's animated. You could even have a cute girl with a nice boob window, picking up the big 2-liter jug of milk and being all suggestive and selling you the whatever. Oh. What is his point?
That is my problem with Xenoblade 2's sexuality. Not the fact that it's anime, but because it can feel more like a seasonal ecchi than a game meant to succeed Xenogears, Xenoblade, and even Xenosaga.
Because
but
of
I'm not
two
gonna
scenes?
act like it was never anime. To claim serious...
So wait, so Xenoblade 2 feels bad because it has some scenes where girls are embarrassed and you have a first person camera shot looking up at a girl. Whereas Xenogears, it's okay when they're nude in actual 2D animation because it's plot related.
Plot related.
This is also plot related. Even if he doesn't want it to be true, these scenes are also plot related.
I am lost.
There is a deeper connection already between Mithra and Rex. Mithra knows that. Rex doesn't.
It's attractive, so it's bad.
You really have to understand.
All right. 2 minutes left. Hopefully he just rambles on about nothing and sells us something at the end.
Series like SMT and Xeno have become anime, and as a result are bad now, not only ignores the history of the games, but it also means nothing. Your problem...
All right, you know what? I'm done.
Don't get out from the argument. Like, you made like all this nonsense until now, and now you're just going back to like the supposed title of the video.
Yeah, I think we're done.
I think he just made all of this up.
Yeah, this is dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go to memes. Hopefully some fun will be had. All right.
Oh, so
Maybe this guy grows up when he turns 18.
Yeah.
I did want to show you guys what I was talking about with Kaneko's style changing. I posted the same character in our chat. So left SMC2, his original design from the original release of the game, and his redesign. Both of these are drawn by Kaneko, but there's a really obvious difference in style.
All right. Well, I'm starting with the memes here. So is that in the meme channel?
Yes.
All right, great.
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, let's go. Legacy. Gentlemen, I unfortunately underwent an anime-ification, and I don't look half bad. Whoa.
It's Morbin time.
Is it Morbin time? Yeah. Okay.
Any Morbin.
Fantastic. Mateus, what? What are you doing? New profile pic? You keep changing your pic every day, Mateus. Don't worry.
He's changing it as much as girls change their panties.
Yeah. In those shonen animes that are also in RPGs in Japan called JRPGs. It's amazing. Author, congrats to your transition. I am an anime now. What the? F-
Okay. Very cool.
Is this an anime?
Oh God, no!
Not
Yes.
not
That
a
is a cheap,
anime.
cheap imitation.
Oh look, a anime.
A anime.
The guy with his sources on anime definitions. This is from Mark.
Source!
That's the
My
actual voice
source is I
actor
made it the fuck
some of
up.
them too.
Fantastic. I am losing brain cells. Oh yeah. I think we were all confused this entire time.
I fell in a coma actually. Like last half an hour, it's just like a blink.
Brr.
White noise.
There we go. This should be the thumbnail if it was animated. Just the guys in Persona 5 just singing a song.
What is love?
Yeah, that's the song.
This is the that 70s show. I'm sure. Redrawn as Persona 5.
Okay. What is this? Looks familiar. I can't tell. Shin Megami Tensei 1. Not
I'm
anime.
guessing it's probably an animated. Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably a Japanese cartoon.
Wow,
That's-
that is old.
Yeah.
Shin Megami Tensei 5 equals 2 anime. Okay. Anime is Japanese animation. Anime is a story about a high school boy with girls that surround him, and he accidentally always. I swear it gets worse the longer it goes on. Yeah, we just could not take it. This is too dumb. Smudcast is an anime confirmed. What?
Yes, we're all in the school with harm surrounding us.
Close enough. Anime cast. Oh, interesting.
Yes, I don't think they could be in it.
I don't mind the artwork. It's pretty good actually. Anime is Japanese animation. Thank you.
Is one of the characters from the Anime-cast DLC? Is it an unlockable character?
Oh god, you unlock Mateus's new avatar for the hour. here's Neil Breen telling us the
Because he said like the main character from Xenogears has amnesia. Like, I instantly reminded of the Neil Breen character.
Oh god.
You mean Neil
Who
Breen?
am I?
Who am I?
What am I?
Hawk. Oh dear, Hawk, what are you doing?
That took me a second to notice.
Like, oh, Hawk.
Wonderful, man.
Boba scales a character's durability. The bigger they are, the more durable they become. Warning, this only applies to characters that are not human. Okay. Gotcha. 7 feet. Holy shit. Pyra and Mithra's covered parts are inversed on each other's base outfits to symbolize they are two halves of the same person. Cool.
Yes.
Oh,
that is
okay.
not wrong.
Smudcast discussing sex appeal maturely, and then Hawk is like...
Wait a minute. There's no way XJ9 is 6'2" because she's about the same height as the lawn chair guy. There's no way he's 6'2".
Your crystal is wrong. It should be shaped like this. Okay. Everyone while listening to him, yeah, this is pretty much us. We're just like, what the fuck?
For me, anime has sex scenes.
Oh, this is cool. What is this from?
Yeah, that's less. That's his design for the SMT2 release. That was the original. And then the one below it is his redesign from a few years later, I think.
Wow. I like the power
That's
glove.
that's just a different style.
Yeah, I like the power glove in the first one. That's good.
I like how he lost all his melanin in the transition.
Yeah, he's whiter now.
Like he's pale as dead.
Yeah, he's a bit paler. The cloth on the armor went from cloth to some sleek plastic material.
Cosmos, yeah.
Just the way his art style changed. So there's an art style change even before they replaced Kaneko with Boy.
So Cosmos is in Xenoblade as well?
Yes, she is the rarest blade to get.
Oh,
And it is the actual Cosmos. Just like Telos. Somehow it's there is plot reasons. There is plot reasons. Okay, it's things with the Zohar.
Here's Mongo. Oh, no, don't bring up Zohar. Here's the Mongo Moo.
That's the problem.
Fantastic meme. Yeah, that's pretty much this freaking video.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it means though. I just know this is a fitting thumbnail for it. I still don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Anyway, that was ridiculous. If I ever use the term properly, that was a good example. Oh, I know chocolate oranges were harmed during that time. So,
Hopefully, maybe.
yeah, well, if I could throw something at this guy, it would be a chocolate orange and see it splatter on his head and come apart.
No, he would say that this is anime. Is this an anime?
I don't know. Either way, we got to see some cute shots of some girls from Xenoblade 2 and a really bad description of the scenes in Xenogears and a bunch of subjective...
We also got to learn what is and isn't an anime.
Right. So if you are a schoolboy surrounded by women and
Different colored hair.
different colored hair and they think you're a pervert, it's an anime. You're good. Nothing else applies. I think. I'm not sure. I think. Even he wasn't very clear on what exactly he was getting at with the whole sexual scenes. Like, dude, what's your point? He doesn't like it. He does like it. He doesn't care. I don't get it. Anyway, guys, don't ever make a video like this. Please do not. Please use your brain for more than half an hour when you write this thing out. Anyway, thank you. That was supposed to be our Monday anime day. I'm glad we didn't do it yesterday because yesterday was fun for me. I was doing some reading and doing a new video script, so got some work done. But hopefully tomorrow or whenever we have our next video will be a bit better and less stupid. I'd be happy for wacky and silly than just dumb. Like I'd rather watch a Maggie Mayfish video because at least there's a train of thought. As weird as it is, at least it connects somewhere.
Maybe I got tainted, but I think I'm starting to agree with you.
Yeah, we know what to expect from her. She's very passionate. She has a script as crazy as it is. It could at least go somewhere. This was a rambling...
Yeah, this is just all over the place, contradictory crap.
Fanboys are bad. Sex is bad, but sometimes it's okay. I don't care if it has it or doesn't.
Anime is not anime, but it's anime.
It's really just fan service when you boil it down. It's like, okay, if you say so.
Remember, boys, if there's going to be a titty, it better serve the plot.
I'm all for
It
plot.
did.
I am all for plot-centric boobs. I think that's a fantastic idea. Although, then you'd be watching...
He didn't see that being plot relevant. I think he doesn't understand people.
Yeah.
He does not understand human.
All right. Well, I'm going to call it night, get a drink, relax, do some more reading, enjoy life, and forget this ever happened. So,
Hopefully.
oh, I will, believe me. No problem. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.